Several years ago, I had one of the more interesting uh, opportunities to create a technique that I've actually ended up using a few times since I developed it. I had a student who was a brewer, brewed beer, and he wanted to create a database, but he wanted to be able to, on one of the fields, pick a color of the beer. It turns out colors have codes associated with them and all that, and he wanted all that information in there. But the key is most of the brewers would actually just look at a color list and visualize, the color of the beer and pick a color from the list. And then when he wanted that to fill in all the other information that. And I thought, well, that's interesting. You're basically asking, can I make a combo box that has pictures in it, rather than just alphanumeric information. And the truth is, you can't do it with a combo box, even though combo boxes are incredibly, incredibly helpful to what we do in building database applications. And very flexible in what we can show in them, multiple fields and binding them to artificial primary keys, surrogate primary keys, and all those kind of things, and doing alias values and derived fields of the queries that they're attached to or that are their row source. I mean, it's pretty incredible what we could do in Combo Box. It's truly one of the gifts that Microsoft gave the world, but they didn't give us the ability to do anything else beside alphanumeric in it, and I always felt that was a drawback. And because, especially in this day and age, websites a lot of times they'll have star ratings on their things, and then once you pick 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stars, it'd be really good if we could show 5 stars. Now there is a way to do that through what they call symbols, alphanumeric symbols. You use a hexadecimal code basically to put a symbol on there for like a star and all that, and a star that's colored in and all that. So it can be done to some extent. But when it comes to things like pictures, colors, emojis, icons, you don't have the ability to do it with combo boxes or list boxes. So I thought to myself, well, is there a way that we can at least mimic what goes on with the combo box? And it took a lot of work. I got to admit, this one took me probably a good week's worth of thinking and trial and error with different approaches and all that before I finally came upon one that not only works but works really fast. Okay, but there is some interesting um, methods I had to use in order to make it work. So I want to go through one right now. I call this one the Robust Picture Pick List. So if I go in here, and here's the I did one for beer here. This is not his. Okay, this is one that I put together as an example. And again, I didn't make it look really great because I mainly just want to demonstrate how it's used. But I've got some beers in here, and if I scroll through here, you'll see there's a color here, and that color will change. It's different for different kinds of beers. Okay, and that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to be able to pick a color and then have it come not only show the color that he picked, but also this SRM Levy bond and the brewer's code for it. Those are codes that brewers use, and then maybe a real world name for it. I don't. Not all of them have real world names, but like this one's Bass Pale Ale, so that's good. So, um, and if I picked a new beer here, it doesn't have anything in there yet because I haven't done anything yet. So let's do a new beer, and then I can show you what happens after we actually have something in here. So I'm going to do something called Tasty Beer, and then I'm going to say, and that was a required field, by the way. And now I'm going to pick a color, and it pops up this form. It has a list of, now think about this. This is kind of like a lookup form. And I'm going to use this lookup form to basically categorize the beer on its color. So I want to do, maybe this one's a Vice beer or something like that. Click on that. Oops, duplicate values. Oh, you know what? I already have a tasty beer in here. I already need to fix that. And I didn't want that macro to open either. I have a tasty beer in here already. So let's call it German beer. No, good, that worked, but it shouldn't give me that macro error. I gotta figure out why that happened. Um, but I got a Vice beer here, so bam, there it is. Now it's all in there. And by the way, if I made a mistake, I wanted a porter, I just pick a porter now before I close it down, or I go back to Vice beer, or whatever. But you see, it's changing that on each one of those. When I'm finally done, I'm done. Bam, it's done. Now, unlike my other lookup tables, I can't populate this. There's not like a little ghost image that comes up and I can put that information. I actually have to put that in through a form that's there for that table. So, but that's okay. That's okay. I mean, it doesn't. It serves a purpose and it does a good purpose. There might have been a way I could do that actually. Now that I think about it, but this is good enough. So anyway, I've got that done. So I got my color, bam, 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 bam. All right. All right. Let's say, oh, I didn't want that. I just hit pick open. You may notice when I hit pick open, it's got this one dot, 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 dot around it. Okay. It's showing that that is the current one that's picked. And if I to pick another one, it'll make that one the current one that's picked. So I'll leave it at Pilsner. That's good. Anyway, oh, German Pilsner. There you go. Since it's German beer, we'll go German Pilsner. So there you go. We got German Pilsner now, and I think we're set to go. I close that down, and I'm done. Pretty easy to use, right? A lot of work, though, to make it happen. All right. So first off, what I want to do is I'm going to open up this subject form for the beers in its design view so you can see what's in there. And the thing I want you to notice right off the bat is there's a little control right here that is CTB beer star color dash identifier, and that is holding the value of the primary key from the table FLK beer star color. FLK beer star color is that basically that lookup form that came up. If I double click on that, you'll see there it is. Okay. And if I open it up in design view, you'll see there's a field here that you also didn't see called AUT. In fact, I'll come back to here. You'll see it when I come back. Because I got to move some things around for you to see it here. But this is holding the value that was picked over there. All right. It actually populated that. And that's all it had to populate. This down here is a subform that's attached to this right here. And if I open it up, oops, sorry about that. I can't do that because I've already got it open here. I'll tell you what, let me close this down really quick. I'm going to open this up, and you can see it's those same things. Now it's got different order. It shows the color first. All that. I could have made it exactly the same, but it basically just has a listing of all the different types of beers that exist. That I've picked, I guess is what it is. No, those are all the ones that exist actually. Okay, the beer color selection. Yeah, all right. And what it's going to do is actually just dump one of those in there. Now, the truth is, I could have used this table too. I could use this to be the sub form and have just its record come up. But I found out this was a lot easier, and it's something that I could make look differently if I want to. So I just decided to do this. So that's got all of them in there, all right. But this is not, even though that says sub form, this is not in a relationship, okay, with the master form, right? It's not a it's not a supplemental relationship to the main form, okay? All this is a form that has these records in it. That's it, okay? Because what we're going to do here on form beer is show the record that was picked, but we're not really going to put those values into the beer table. The only thing we're going to put in the beer table is this value right here. Okay, that's the only one that went in there, and it went in there for long beer start color identifier, the foreign key field, basically. Okay, so we're going to put that in there, the foreign key field from this one. I know that's a little confusing. Most of the time when we use subforms, they're in a relationship to the main form. This one is not, okay? It's just there for informational purposes. It's there to tell you that when this value is in here, this is what it means. It's got these things associated with it. And it knew how to do that by, on the control here, you've got your link master fields, the long beer identifier, the foreign key field that's in the master form, and then the primary key for the field in here. Okay, it's the same primary key that you had up here. All right, that's how it works. So anyway, um, yes, that's right. So yeah, if I opened up this one, I can't open. See, I keep having to close this down to do this. If I open this up in design view, you see this, and you see it's got this little field here that's not shown. Okay, it's a hidden field, and the way I made it, I'm sorry, not a hidden field. It's a hidden control, a hidden text box control. And the way I did that is I set its property, its visible property to no. But that's the where the beer color identifier comes from. How is it the same thing as the primary key that came from this one? Because it's the same primary key. It turns out that this form is also attached to TLK Beer Star Color. That was the key to get all this to work. Is that I had to have two forms, one that was the pick list and the other one that is the display of something from that pick list. Okay, so think about here. I've got my lookup table. I'm going to have a lookup form that allows me to see everything in that lookup table and work with it, by the way. And then this form is just going to show me what was actually picked from that lookup table. But they're both this form and the lookup form are both use as its record source TLK Beer Star Color. And that's why when I clicked on that, it basically transferred that value over to the main form, the primary key value to the main form. And then when it linked on the same primary key value because it's the same record set. They couldn't have different primary key values. I know that's a little bit confusing. Think about it a bit, and I think it'll come to you what I'm talking about if you're not getting it right away. But anyway, so I've got this beer now, and also on here, and again, this is a hidden field. If I look at this, you'll see it's not there. So again, I made it visible. No, its visible property is no. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the on click for pick color. And what on click for pick color does is it just opens up that FLK beer star color form, the lookup form, just in its normal view, okay? But there's something to be said about that, and I'll talk about that in a second, okay? And then immediately on that form, on that same form, it's going to find the first record that conforms to this where clause and make it basically the one that's got the focus. All right. Remember how I had that dot 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 that came up if I had already picked a beer, it showed which one it was. If not, it just had the first one ready to pick, basically. Um, that came from here. I'm saying where up beer color identifier on that form is equal to uh, that CTB color that's coming from the main form. Okay, so these forms refer to each other back and forth is what it amounts to here. All right, so let's go back here. And so that would open it up. Now, I'm going to close this down and open that up now. Okay, what opens up is this. And again, I've got this open in design view right now. It has an invisible field. And again, it's the one that is connected to the primary key because it doesn't mean anything. But you see how I couldn't click on that here? The reason that's happening is, and this is how I finally got this thing to work because I thought, What if they click? We're used to in the combo box clicking anywhere on the thing as long as it's on the record. I had this little arrow here, and I thought I'll force them to do it there, and it was working, but not too great. And if they were just off a little bit, it wouldn't work. If they clicked on the color, it wouldn't work. And I thought I really like them anywhere if they clicked anywhere on here because it's static information. It's not, they can't change this in this form. Um, how can I make it so that they just they click on the thing and it goes? And the way I did that is to make a button that basically is invisible. If I pull this down, that's just a command button. All right, it's a command button with a little picture that is a little arrow that I made flush left in it so that I got enough room to put it there. And then these are all the fields that are there. Okay, so that's over there. So again, this field here holds the primary key, and again, it is invisible. You can see visible no. I just want to check on something here on the form itself. Did I make that read only? I may have. Data entry, no. Yeah, see, I may have made it read only, so that was another thing. I don't allow additions or deletions. You gotta leave allow edits on, don't allow fill. Yeah, so I changed the data entry to no, meaning that they can't actually enter data on this form. So that makes it essentially read only, which is what I want here. Okay, again, to add more or to change it, I actually have to go back to the TLK beer start color and do it. Now, what I would normally do is I would make a form to manage that too, obviously, and that would take care of that. But from this selection form, we'll call it, I went and only read only. So, and if I look on this button now, on its on click property, you'll see what it does is it sets the value of that CTB hidden control that's on the main form to be the primary key value of the lookup table for the one I picked. So it said that's where it comes from. Remember, that is on the screen, so it's active. And it could find that. I give it its reference and it can find that and it could stuff it with a value. All right. Then I select that form object and I run a menu command that refreshes it. And when I do that, that's when you see the new information appear. Okay? Because if I just stuff the value in there, it doesn't happen automatically until I actually move back to the form, give it the focus, and try to do something. So doing a select object brings the focus back to that form, and then it refreshes it. But don't forget, the form is still on the selection form is still on the screen, and I could still do things with it. In fact, the truth is I can't go back to the other form, even though programmatically I could go back and refresh it. I can't go back there and change the beer name while the other one's open. And the reason that happens, and I'm going to close this down now, is because this form, if I go up to the top, you'll see that it has it's called a pop-up modal form. That makes it a dialog window. All right, that makes it a dialog window, having it pop up in modal. All our lookup forms are pop up in modal. Our Let me see if I could open this one. I think I can. Yeah, our subject forms are not. I mean, if subject forms are not pop up, but they're modal. What modal means is that when it has the focus, nothing else could have the focus. Pop up means it's not going to be in a tab, it's going to be in a window that hovers above everything else. And so when it's pop up and modal together, you have to finish it out before you go back and do anything else. All right. The reason subject forms, are pop up and modal, are not pop up and modal, are because they're in tabs And you might notice that when I have before, when I was doing a switchboard and then I opened up a subject form or a subject or a report, those were the ones that were active. To get back, I had to actually close them down to get back because it actually kind of low lighted this. Even though it showed the tab being there, you couldn't go to it. You couldn't open it up because again, it's modal. These had the focus. You have to close it down before you could do anything else. So that's how I'm keeping it on the screen, and yet they can't go back to that and do any work until they actually close down the color picker. So that's really nice. And I think the only other thing to show you is that, yeah, they can close it down by hitting the X value. I'm not going to do any of this there. But again, let's run it again just so you can see it one more time. So right away, this one, the first one that comes up is there. And if I was able to show it right now, you would see a value that would be the primary key for the record that has this particular color in it in that lookup table. Then I go over here, I click on, and again, this one opened up, and then it came over here and said, okay, what is that value here? Let's make sure that record is the one that's got the focus here right now. Okay, so that command button's got the focus for that record right now. It's got that dot 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 around it. Okay, but if I hit that, it's not going to do anything because actually it is trying to update it, but it's just going to give you the same value. Okay, I click on another one now, it moves the focus to that one. But you can see here, I can't change any of these. And by the way, I don't have to click on the arrows. I can click in here. I can click anywhere I want on that and it'll work. Okay. And then again, I can't come over here and do anything. See, it gives me this error basically, or a beeping sound. Okay. Until I actually close this down and then I go back. All right. And then it puts the focus back here. And again, on a new beer, that uh, that hidden box doesn't have a value on there. I do a pick color. This one, that's where the hidden box is, by the way, where you see this little dot here. I just did that to give it a little bit of room for the command button when it always snap back if I didn't have something there. So I just put a little dot there. But anyway, I picked this and then right away, yeah, I know I have to enter a name for the beer. That's why it's doing that. I'm getting a macro error because I didn't have a required, that's a required field. I had to do something there. So I'll have to fix that. So that's just an error on the required property. So anyway, I'll go back here and logger. I fix that anyway. And again, it populated that hidden field with what was in this hidden field, and it basically moved to the record here on that list that was in the subform form to the one that has that value in a it's got a hidden field here that has it. So I'm basically what I'm doing, I'm looking up the primary keys from all these, and that works and it worked really well, and I was extremely happy I got that to work. And unfortunately I didn't realize I had that little error on making sure that the beer has a name. Maybe what I need to do is set its after update property, make this invisible and make its after update property to turn this on. That's what and test to see if it's null or not, and then turn it on. Okay, so there's yet another step, and you've seen me do that in other examples. But for the most part, this is a way that you can mimic doing what basically is in a combo box. Yeah, you don't get a ghost thing here that will allow you to update it here. Probably there's a way to do that. I don't know, but I don't think so. But what I would do instead is I would just have a subject form that will, or I'm sorry, a form that would allow me to manage those values. I wouldn't do them on a fly here. I would basically come out of this, do it through another form, and then come back in here, and then it'd be there. So, I mean, we've given them a lot of really good capability here. Yeah, it'd be nice to have that one last little bit, but that's not that big of a deal. So, anyway, I think that's a neat technique. I hope it's something that if you want to try to use it, feel free. Again, it took me a little bit of work to do it, but I think now that it's done, it'd be really simple to mimic how to do this. And I think I've shown you all the parts of it, so you should be able to get through there and figure it out if you need to do that. So we'll move on to the next technique.